Well, hey everybody, it's Joel Toppin here, and you probably know my YouTube channel for its war game content, but I'm an avid hiker, and we only have a few weeks of gorgeous weather here in Montana in the summer. Most of the year it's pretty inhospitable, but we've had some gorgeous weather, and so I've been doing a lot of hiking this summer. I want to show you a little bit about the hike we did just yesterday, in fact. The only road that travels through Glacier National Park is the Going to the Sun Road, and it travels from St. Mary to West Glacier, and there's a number of trails that branch off of the Sun Road. So one we did yesterday was the Gunsight Pass Trail. There's a trailhead just off the side of the highway, and you can get on that trail. You do about a mile or so of downhill, about a mile and a half of downhill, pretty steep to the Reynolds Creek campground, and then we're pretty much going to stay in a valley the rest of the morning. All right, so this is the Gunsight Pass Trail, and what we're going to be doing today is hiking from Gunsight Pass trailhead on the Sun Road. And we're going to be heading up to Lake McDonald, up to a nice bright and early start. Some great early morning views of the mountains. All right, kind of a steep trail, so I'm going to stop and we'll get some pictures down by Reynolds Creek. Not as high as it was over a month ago. Going pretty good. All right. Yeah. Well, not to keep you all in suspense, but we're about to cross a bridge here.
You stole my punch.
Not too bad. Not like that one over the Belly River last week. That one was... Easy, Ben.
Whoa.
We'll have to carry you out of here.
Whoa. Hang on. This bridge is pretty bronzy now. Whoa.
It's good. It's good. Making our way along this valley, it's a gorgeous view. I'll show you some video here in just a moment of that segment, but there's gorgeous views all along this stretch. And you get a pretty good look at the Jackson Glacier. And as you get a little bit closer, you'll be able to see the Blackfoot Glacier. There's Citadel Mountain, Dusty Star Mountain. And all of this, I think all of this flows into St. Mary. It's part of the St. Mary River.
Gorgeous.
Well, this is just a vista.
The vista.
This is where we take in the vista, and I feel like we're supposed to sing a song or something now.
Smudged? Yeah. And you didn't? No.
Very pretty this morning. All right, so we are almost up to the Florence Falls junction. So I think for making such good time, I think we might just go ahead and make that little extra side trip, go see Florence Falls. It's a very, very pretty morning. Nice and cool for now. It's going to be a hot one today. Trying to get as much of this done in the cooler day as we can. Looks like the huckleberries are out and ripe. Little trail snack along the way. That mountain ahead is one of the I think 4 10,000 footers in the park. almost to the junction with Florence Falls. This actually becomes the St. Mary River here off to our left and goes into the upper St. Mary Lake. Well, along the way, we went ahead and decided to stop and do this little side excursion to Florence Falls. Now, the sign says it's 1 mile, but they lowball it in places in the park, so you should be aware of that. The trail, All Trails map says 0.7 miles, and that feels more accurate to me. It felt like more like 1.5 miles, and it's a substantial climb. It's a fairly steep trail in parts, as you can see here on the topo map. But it ends, and there's a really cool staircase-style waterfall, and I took some video while we were up there. The trail is really dense here. Forget waist high. It's like shoulder-high vegetation, and not many people traffic this. It's kind of overgrown the trail. You can almost can't even see the trail. But we are almost up to Florence Falls. We'll get a closer look at it here in just a second. This is Florence Falls. Another view of it. It goes up quite a ways. From the Florence Falls trailhead, the trail begins to actually climb from this point. It's fairly level between Reynolds Creek Campground and the junction with Florence Falls, but from this point you do begin to climb, and you begin to sidle along Fusillade Mountain. And all along this way you're starting to get views of the Jackson Glacier and the Blackfoot Glacier. Blackfoot Glacier is going to be more along this slope here, and then Jackson Glacier is along, of course, Jackson Mountain. Jackson Mountain, you'll see that prominently in the foreground of the videos I'll show you in just a moment, and that's one of the 10,000 footers in Glacier National Park. Alright, well, we're starting our ascent now. Next stop is Gunsight Lake, and then we'll start to make our way over the pass. So it's pretty much uphill here until we get to the summit of Gunsite Pass. All right, so there's the Jackson Glacier. Still there. Everybody just relax. No sudden moves. The glacier is still there. And that's the Blackfoot Glacier. And as you can see, it's still there too. Fascinating. Eventually we make our way up to Gunsight Lake, which is a very scenic cul-de-sac of mountain, and it's a substantial lake. When you come to it, you don't realize quite how long the lake is until you begin to climb up above it. But I got some gorgeous video and pictures of the lake and all of the waterfalls that were streaming down into it. The runoff is at full tilt right now. We are almost to the lake, and we're getting treated to some spectacular views. Yeah, I kind of wish I could just film the entire walk, because this whole stretch pretty much from the junction of Florence Falls up to Gunsight Lake is pretty much up in the open, and you can see for miles and miles glaciers and waterfalls and huge meadows full of wildflowers. It's just incredible. There's our trail. So our trail is going to start snaking up here. We're going to head into Gunsite Pass. But we'll stop at the lake here for a little bit. Just get our get a little bit of a breather, get a little snack. Summer has to jump in the lake. You gonna jump in the lake? I think it's the only lake that we're gonna encounter where she's gonna be able to do this. So. Yeah, last time I was up here was late June. I think it was the last weekend of June, and this was all under snow still. It's Nice that I don't have to cross a treacherous snowfield to get here. Well, here we are, Gunsight Lake. What a pretty spot. We'll sit here and have a little breakfast before we continue on.
So here we got Gunsight Lake. It's a pretty big one. It's a lot of water. A little breezy. But grandfathers looked down on us today and said, Hanya, Hanya. Yeah. Yeah. It's a good day. Good day today. Skapi Pekani.
Well, after Gunsight Lake, we began to climb. One thing we did encounter, there is a bridge, or it used to be a hanging bridge that goes over the creek running out of Gunsight Lake. It's a pretty wide creek. I want to say 50 feet wide is maybe a good estimate. Maybe a little less than that. But it's fairly wide, but it's deeper than it looks. You got to wade through it. It was about thigh deep for me. So if you have phones in your pockets, you want to probably put that in your backpack before you try to venture across that. They do have a cable that you can hold on to so you don't fall. I always carry trekking poles on something like this, so that wasn't really an issue. But after we dried our feet out, changed back into our shoes and socks, we started making our big climb above Gunsight Lake. And I got some phenomenal video of this that I'll show you in just a moment. We did encounter some very treacherous snowfields. So if you attempt this, you should be aware that even as late as July 29th, we had substantial snow fields to cross that were very slippery. It's not really snowy. It's more like ice, but it's not quite ice. It's kind of hard to describe. It's a very compact form of snow, let's put it that way. Very slippery, very difficult to get your footing. If you slip, you will slide to the bottom of that. You probably won't stop yourself, and you probably won't plunge to your death, but it's going to be a long, uncomfortable ride. And then you're going to have to climb back out of that. So I heartily recommend you don't venture out onto those without trekking poles and good footwear. I had wished I brought my yak tracks to strap onto the bottoms of my shoes. Fortunately, we were able to get across it without anyone taking a tumble. Well, after having to wade through thigh-deep water, we are ready to proceed. We're at the junction for a couple of trails here. We're going to be heading up now to the Gunsight Pass. Let's roll. Giddy up. All these gorgeous waterfalls coming down the lake. A pretty spot. It's an amazing view. We made quite a bit of a climb already up above the lake. Such a gorgeous day. It's a real privilege to be able to do something like this. Oh, look at those waterfalls. So many cool waterfalls here. Long way down, man. Quite a view to that lake. Overall, it's really not that bad of a trail. Don't feel like it's kicking my butt yet. Let's put it that way. Good stuff. Woo-wee. It's a ways down there, man. Yeah, baby goat. Gonna walk right by mama and baby here. Oh, take a little poop break. That's so stinking cool. Look at that. The most glacier view ever right there. Look at that. Mama and her kid. Wow. So that's where we were, down there in that beach. It's just following us now. The baby's so cute. Almost to the summit of Gunsight Pass, and I gotta tell you, this is just stunning scenery here. A goat just walked right by. She's sitting right up there in that knoll. So cool. Here he is. He's kind of going back and forth around us. That's awesome. Well, here we go. Trail's kind of leveling out here. Feeling we're gonna get some cool views here on the other side of this rise. I've done a lot of hikes in the park. I gotta tell you, this one here is this is top shelf. This is definitely a top tier in terms of scenery. And of course, we got a beautiful day today for it. But I'm telling you, this is really, really nice. Definitely up there with Dawson, Pitamakan, which is, I think, still my favorite. Yeah, this is really awesome. Coming up on some more snowfields. So I'm gonna need both hands for this. Oh, geez, that was wicked. That was probably the scariest snowfield I've ever crossed. Let me tell you. It's like roller skates. And here we are, continuing on our merry way. What a beautiful path we got today. Snow runoff is awesome. All the waterfalls, just amazing. Alright, once again I'm going to need both hands for this crossing. Quite easily this is moving into the, probably moving to the top 5 all-time hikes in the park. And we're not even halfway. It's incredible scenery. It's really not, doesn't feel like it's that long and difficult. I mean, there's a fair uphill stretch from the base of Gunsight Lake up here to where we are now, but I feel like it's not a steep grade. It's very manageable, and in the morning we were in the shade most of the time, which was nice because it is a bit warm today. The breeze up here high, it just feels really nice. Waterfalls are just incredible. So you can see there's a ton of these waterfalls. Come back around, you can see a snow shelf came down recently. Almost to the crest. Getting around the corner here. Well, we've reached the summit of Gunsight Pass. There's some pretty hairy snowfields. We ended up having to scramble up some rock slopes instead of crossing the last two. Is just a little bit too treacherous. The trail is buried under the snow here somewhere. But here we are. Yeah, here's the trail. Picking it up again. What an epic day. Well, there's a marmot there in that rock. Usually about where I start to see them is at the top of these passes. He's barking at us. Here we go. So this is the taco stand. Well, from the summit of Gunsight Pass, you get a real good sense of why it's called Gunsight Mountain. It really does look like a gunsight when you look at it head on, and I got some video of that. But from here, we begin to make a descent down to Lake Ellen Wilson, and the creek, I think it's Lincoln Creek, comes down into a really nice waterfall right toward the end of the downhill portion. That waterfall, as of July 29th, was not, you could not cross, the trail ventures right next to where the waterfall is plunging over, and there's no way to cross that safely without getting your feet wet. So I hardly recommend that you use water shoes when venturing out into those things, because then you can keep your socks dry and you can dry out your feet before venturing on. You don't want to have wet feet for the whole day because that's really rough on your skin. That mountain there.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's a really cool peak. It's the second lake we're gonna go by, and then I think we gotta kind of climb over the shoulder of that ridge ahead of us, and then it's all downhill to Lake McDonald. So, Kalispell's somewhere off that way. Well, I think we're past the halfway point, and we're making really good time too. So I think we're gonna go ahead and stop at that lake, eat a little bit of lunch. It's just about lunchtime. Wildflowers are just putting on a show still. Talk about sensory overload. There's just everything. There's waterfalls, there's all these wildflowers, there's this beautiful lake, snowfields. It's just so much to take in. It's incredible. Look at that. Just absolutely breathtaking today. Geez, I hate to say it, but this is like starting to, this might push Pitamakan and Dawson off my favorite all time. I think this is now my top 3 all-time hikes in the park, just based on today's experience. Absolutely phenomenal. Almost down to the lake. All of the runoff is, it's just so refreshing. Catch a cool breeze coming off of it. Probably go ahead and replenish our water down here. It's pretty warm today. And yeah. I think I can jump this. There we go. So it's nice just to stand under this and cool off a little bit. Snow broke off. Still down by the lake. It's quite a waterfall we're gonna walk right by. Just phenomenal beauty today. Quite a waterfall. I think this is pretty much where I get wet whether I want it to or not. Not really much of a choice here. Pretty wicked. Well, after at Lake Ellen Wilson, I think we stopped probably right around here for some lunch. I needed to get some food in me, so we stopped here for lunch for probably about a half an hour or so. This whole hike, by the way, took about 10.5 hours. So you get an idea of what we're describing here. The temperatures were starting to get warmer as we got more to the west side of the mountains. The temperatures were creeping up closer and closer to the 90s. But from here, it becomes a pretty steep uphill climb. You're climbing up to Lincoln Pass. And this section here, it was hot and it was tough. We're getting to that part of the day. We've been, going pretty strong for quite a while. Some of us had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to make the trailhead in time. So, it was starting to get kind of fatiguing. Let's put it that way. But once you get to the top of Lincoln Pass, then it's going to be all downhill from there.
Lake Ellen Wilson. Beautiful. Pretty warm now. Got one more climb to make and then it's all downhill. Lake Ellen Wilson. We're almost past it. Got another mile of uphill. And it's brutal. So I'll just let you imagine what it's like, and maybe I'll do some more videos on the downslope. Magnificent. Almost to the summit. Pretty hot and pretty tired. Probably drank about 2 liters already. Had to fill up at one of the streams there because there's no way I was going to make it on what I had left. Almost to the downhill portion. Well, at least it feels like we're making some kind of a descent. Feels good. A breeze. That's where we came the top of the second pass. Every time we thought we were at the top, we come around the corner and find out we were not at the top. Still snowfields, little patches of it. All downhill from here. Let me show you the view we got though. Here is McDonald Lake. That's where we're going. 2/3 of the way there.
From Lincoln Pass, you can actually see the Sperry Chalet, and so there's some switchbacks. It's pretty steep all the way from Lincoln Pass to the Lake McDonald Lodge. It looks so close when you're up here and you can actually see Lake McDonald from this vantage point. It's like, oh, we're almost there. Look at the map here, not so much. You're maybe about, 2/3 of the way there, so you've got quite a hike still in front of you. And a couple years ago, there's a bad burn that came through here. So this whole valley's been burned pretty severely. It's not as scenic as perhaps it once was. It's still pretty country, but there's not a lot of shade and it's pretty steep. And you're going to be going downhill in that for quite some time. This was the tough part of the day. This is the part of the day that made us question our life choice to do this hike. But it was, I think it was really worth doing because you don't know until you try something. But we ended up walking all the way down. I think probably down in here is when you start to really enter into the cedars where it's not burned. It was very pretty. This stretch was very pretty. I would like to come back to West Glacier and hike some of these other trails here. I just loved walking in that cedar forest.
All right, there's the Sperry Chalet. And we're going to start making our way down to the lake. Feels good to be going downhill. Well, I'll tell you what, we have surely seen some phenomenal, beautiful country, and I regret that I'm not able to film it or really even take it all in. It's just absolutely spectacular. All right, well, here is the Sperry Chalet. Really pretty place. I think it burned back in 2019. Fire made it all the way up here. There's a better look at it. Historic building. We're about 6.5 miles from Lake McDonald, so call another, I don't know, at the pace we're going, 2.5 hours, I think. Feels about right. There he is. He's coming up for a stop at the chalet. Well, we're, as Matt says, maybe halfway. Kind of a depressing thought. But we're kind of down in the cedars now. It's just pretty. So this side of the mountains has a totally different kind of ecology. It's like it has more in common with Pacific Northwest in terms of being almost like a rainforest. Today it's pretty hot and dry, but usually they get a lot more rain over here. These cedars are just absolutely beautiful. Such variety on this hike. We've been in, dense lodgepole pine. We've been out in open meadows. We've been above the tree line for hours. And now here we are in something that looks like a scene out of Oregon or maybe even Washington in the Cascades or Olympic. Hopefully less than an hour left to go. All right, well, we're gonna be a little later than we thought. I said 5 at the chalet and we're not quite there yet, or the lodge, and we're not there yet. Oh, the heat just takes it out of you, but the scenery is just spectacular. I'm loving this cedar forest that we've been in. I haven't done many videos this afternoon just because it's so hot and I'm tired and I really don't feel like talking. But even with all of that, we've been going for 9 hours, more than that actually now. Even with all of that, just the natural beauty is just astonishing. Just can't get over it. Really glad for the opportunity to do this today. I'm even gladder that there's a shuttle to take us back to the car. Oh man. It's been a long day. We hit the trailhead at maybe 7:15. It's just past 5 o'clock now. We got maybe about a mile and we'll be done. It's just hard to keep going. Your muscles ache really bad and you just want to stop, and if you stop, your muscles seize up. So just got to keep willing ourselves forward.
Well, I didn't shoot a video for the end of the day. We got to the end of the trail here, and our feet we were just so tired, and we were really pressed for time because we needed to catch the shuttle before the shuttle service ends so we could ride back we had to take a shuttle from here up to, I think, to Avalanche Lake, and then they put us on a different shuttle from there to Logan Pass, which is like, I think, right in here. And then from Logan Pass, we took another shuttle that then dropped us back off at our vehicles. Call it probably an hour and a half of shuttling. So if you do attempt this, that shuttle service is great, but we made it to the lodge at 5:30 and we barely made it to Logan Pass in time to catch the shuttle back to our vehicle. So if you attempt this, your target really needs to be get to Lake McDonald Lodge by 5 o'clock in order to not have difficulty with the shuttle service, because there's only so much capacity in those vehicles. So that was our adventure. Gunsight Pass to Lake McDonald Lodge. Would I do this one again? Probably not. And here's why. It was easily one of the top 3 all-time hikes I've done in the park. However, once we reached the this summit here, this was really the scenic portion. From the trailhead to right here was really the scenic portion. So I think if I was to do this again, and I want to, I would hike to the summit of the pass, take some pictures. There's a cool little shack up here that you can just kind of stop at, catch your breath, and take in the views, and eat some lunch or whatever. And then I would just head back out, do it out and back, and then you just get back to your vehicle. We could have done that in a fraction of the time it took us to do the whole thing. So that, and it would have been cooler temperatures as well. One thing you should be aware of if you do attempt that is this last 1.5 miles is a climb. And sometimes that's a rough way to end your day. So don't burn yourself out too much, because once you get back to Reynolds Creek, you're going to be climbing a pretty steady uphill to get back to your vehicle.